Last lesson, you learned all about the 5 tones in Mandarin. Let's do a quick review. The tone is part of the identity of the character. 2 syllables with the same initial and final, but different tone can mean completely different things. The first tone is high-pitched and flat. Ma. The second tone rises in pitch. Ma. The third tone dips and goes back up. Ma. The fourth tone quickly goes down. Ma. And the fifth tone is unstressed and neutral. Ma. When we're speaking, sometimes the tone of a word changes depending on its context. Today we will learn when these tones of certain words change. The first rule is regarding E, which means one, and usually it's pronounced E and takes the first tone. However, when E is followed by a fourth tone or a fifth tone, it's going to change into the second tone. So something that was originally yi xia will now become yi xia. It changes from the first tone to the second tone. And when E is followed by a non-fourth tone, in other words, when it's followed by a first tone, second tone, or third tone, E will change into the fourth tone. So something that was originally yi tian becomes yi tian, and yi qun becomes yi qun, yi ba becomes yi ba. And when you're writing this pinyin out, you need to write in the changed tone of E. In other words, you would write everything in the second column, not the way it appears in the first column. Now we're going to learn the tone change rule for bu, which means not or no. And like E, its tone changes depending on the other tones that it's paired with. So bu normally is a fourth tone. But when it directly precedes another fourth tone, then bu takes on the second tone. So what was originally bu xing becomes bu xing. Bu bi becomes bu bi. And if bu is followed by a first, second, or third tone word, there is no tone change. Everything will stay the same. And just like E, when you're writing out the pinyin for bu, you need to write the changed tone. So you would write the second column instead of the first column. This rule is regarding the third tone. When 2 third tone syllables are directly adjacent to each other, the first tone will change into a second tone. For example, mei, yu. These are 2 third tones. When you put them together, the first third tone, mei, turns into a second tone, mei. So it becomes mei, yu. It basically becomes easier to pronounce. Let's try that one more time. Mei, yu becomes mei, yu. This rule also applies when you have a phrase of third tones together. So let's look at the second example. 我想买. We have 3 tones all put together. Now, usually you would just take the first pair of the 2 third tones together and change the first one to a second tone. So you get 我想买. And if we look at the third example, we also see 2 third tones put together in a phrase. 两本书. So you change the first third tone into a second tone. 两本书. And we can actually look at this big long string of phrases together, the 2 that we just saw. 我想买两本书. If you tried reading that all together, because there are 5 third tones all following each other, it becomes pretty tedious, and it doesn't flow off the tongue very well. So what we typically do is split the phrase into smaller portions, and then we apply the third tone rule to the small portions. So if we do that to this phrase, we end up with something like this. 我想买2本书. And this actually means I want to buy 2 books.